I left my wife without explanation after she cheated on me. She searched for me for a whole year to ask for. My wife and I had been going through a rough patch lately. It wasn't anything dramatic at first, just the usual stuff that creeps into a marriage after a few years. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 5, and things started feeling stale. She'd complain about me working too much, and I'd get annoyed when she'd nag about dumb stuff like leaving dishes in the sink. Money was tight too, even though I was the one bringing in most of it. I worked long hours at a logistics company, coordinating shipments, while she stayed home. We didn't have kids, so it was just us and the house to take care of. I figured we'd work through it eventually, like we always did. But then it got worse. She started acting distant, spending more time on her phone, and dodging questions about where she'd been. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband, so I let it slide for a while. Looking back, that was my first mistake. It hit me hard when I found out she cheated. I wasn't even snooping. Her phone was just sitting there on the counter, and a text popped up from some guy I didn't know. It said something about last night, and how he couldn't stop thinking about her. My stomach dropped. I unlocked her phone. She never changed the passcode from our anniversary date, and there it was. Messages going back weeks. Pictures too. I won't go into details, but it was enough to know she'd been sleeping with this dude for at least a month. I didn't confront her. Didn't yell or throw stuff. I just stood there in the kitchen, staring at the screen, feeling like an idiot for trusting her. That's when I decided I was done. No second chances, no therapy, none of that. I was out. I started planning my exit that night. We lived in a decent-sized town, but I knew I couldn't stay there. Too many memories, too many chances of running into her or her friends. I found a job listing online for a similar logistics gig in a city about 300 miles away. Pay was about the same, and they were desperate to hire. I applied, got an interview over video call 2 days later, and they offered me the job on the spot. I didn't tell her anything. She didn't deserve to know. Over the next week, while she was out doing whatever, probably with that guy, I packed up my stuff. Clothes, my laptop, some books, and a few things I cared about, like my dad's old watch. I didn't take much. The furniture, the TV, all that crap, we'd bought it together, and I didn't want any reminders. I loaded my car late at night, left my key on the counter, and drove off. She was asleep when I left. Didn't even stir. I drove 5 hours to a new city and arrived at dawn. I checked into a motel, then found a 1-bedroom apartment online and signed the lease 2 days later. I moved in with the stuff I'd brought, clothes, laptop, and a few personal items. She didn't know I'd left. I'd packed and driven off late at night while she was asleep, leaving my key on the counter. I didn't tell anyone where I was going and kept my phone off for days. When I turned it on, she'd called and texted asking where I was. I blocked her number without replying. She likely figured it out when she saw my stuff was gone. I started my new job a week later. It was the same logistics work I'd done before, just in a different warehouse. I kept to myself and didn't talk much. After work, I'd go home and keep my routine simple. Back home, she'd have to deal with the bills herself. I'd always paid the mortgage and utilities, and she hadn't worked in years. Now she'd have to get a job or figure something out. I didn't care how she managed. A few weeks into my new life, I got a call from an old friend back home. I hadn't told him where I was, but he didn't ask either. He just said she'd been asking around about me. Apparently, she'd gone to him and a couple other guys we knew, trying to figure out if I'd said anything before I left. She didn't know where I'd gone, and it was driving her crazy. He told me she looked stressed, like she hadn't been sleeping. I didn't feel bad about it. She'd made her choice, and I'd made mine. I thanked him for the heads up and told him not to tell her anything. He agreed and left it at that. I kept my routine going in the new city. Work was steady, and I was saving some money since I wasn't splitting it with anyone anymore. I didn't check social media or reach out to anyone from my old life. I wanted nothing to do with it. From what my friend said, she was scrambling. She'd started asking neighbors too, even went to my old job to see if they knew anything. They didn't. I'd given my 2 weeks' notice and left without mentioning my plans. She was hitting dead ends everywhere, and I was fine with that. Let her search. It didn't change what she'd done. Months passed, and I settled into the new city. The job kept me busy, and I found a rhythm: work, home, sleep, repeat. I didn't think about her much anymore. One day, another friend from back home texted me. He said she was still looking for me, almost a year after I'd left. She'd even hired some cheap private investigator, but the guy didn't find anything. I'd been careful: no news, social media, no forwarding address, nothing. My friend said she'd lost weight and seemed desperate. I didn't respond to that part. I just told him to keep my location quiet, and he said he would. I didn't care that she was searching. I'd built something new here, even if it was basic. I had my apartment, my job, and no one to answer to. She could have had that life with me, but she threw it away. I heard from my friend that she'd gotten a part-time job at some retail store to cover bills. Guess she had to after I stopped paying for everything. That was her problem now. I wasn't mad anymore, just done. My life was simple, and I liked it that way. About a year into my new life, something unexpected happened. I was at a bar near my apartment, not a fancy place, just somewhere I'd started going to on Fridays to unwind after work. I'd grab a beer, sit in the corner, and scroll my phone. That night, I noticed a woman staring at me from across the room. She was with a couple other people, but her eyes kept landing on me. I ignored it at first, figured it was nothing. Then she walked over. She was tall, with short hair, and looked nervous. She asked if my name was what it was. I froze. It was her, my wife. She'd found me. I didn't know how she did it. Later, I'd piece it together. Turns out, she'd kept digging after that private investigator failed. She'd started calling every logistics company within a 500-mile radius of our old town, asking if they'd hired someone with my experience. Most places told her they couldn't give out that info, but one HR lady at my new job felt bad for her sob story and confirmed I worked there. From there, she'd driven down, checked every bar and restaurant near the warehouse until she spotted me. She'd been in the city for 3 days, sleeping in her car, just to track me down. She sat across from me without asking. Her face was thinner, her hair was a mess, and she had bags under her eyes. She started talking fast, saying she'd been looking for me for a whole year, that she needed to explain. I didn't say anything, just stared at her. She went on about how sorry she was, how the affair was a mistake, how she'd been lonely because I was always working. She said she'd quit her job to focus on finding me, that she'd sold some of our old stuff to pay for gas and that investigator. She begged me to come back, said she'd do anything to fix it. I let her talk for a while, mostly because I was too shocked to move. I finally told her to follow me back to my apartment. Not because I wanted her there, but because I didn't want this playing out in a bar with people watching. We drove separately. She was in our old car, the one we bought together years ago. At my place, she kept going. She admitted the affair lasted 2 months, not 1, and that she'd only ended it after I left. She said she didn't know why she did it, just that she felt empty. I asked her what she expected me to do with that. She didn't have an answer, just kept crying and saying she loved me. It went on for hours, her spilling everything, me mostly listening. I didn't yell or cry. I just sat there, taking it in. After hours of her talking, I'd had enough. She was still sitting on my couch, tears streaming down her face, going on about how we could start over. I stood up and told her to leave. She looked shocked, like she thought her showing up and begging would fix everything. I said I didn't care about her explanations or her promises. She cheated, I left, and that was it. She tried to argue, saying I owed her a chance to make it right since we'd been married for years. I told her she threw that away, not me. She started sobbing harder, but I didn't budge. I opened the door and said she needed to go. She didn't leave right away. She sat there for a few minutes, staring at the floor, then grabbed her bag and walked out. I watched her get into her car and drive off. That was it, no big fight, no screaming match. Just silence after she left. I locked the door, sat back down, and turned on the TV like nothing happened. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel much of anything, really. She tracked me down after a year, poured her heart out, and it didn't change a thing for me. I was done the second I found those texts, and nothing she said now mattered. The next day, I went to work like usual. Kept my head down, did my job. I didn't tell anyone about her showing up, not my coworkers, not my friends back home. It wasn't their business. I figured that was the end of it. She'd gotten her closure, or whatever she was after, and I could keep moving forward. My life stayed the same after that. Work was steady, my apartment was fine, and I kept my routine. I didn't check if she tried calling again. My phone stayed quiet, and I was good with that. A couple weeks after she showed up, I got a message from a mutual friend back home. He said she'd been telling people a story about our breakup. According to her, I'd been the one who cheated, and she kicked me out after finding out. She told everyone I ran off to another city because I was ashamed, and she'd only tracked me down to get some money I owed her. It was all lies. I never cheated, and I'd left her with the house and everything in it. She was the one who owed me if anything. My friend said she'd spread this to her family, our old neighbors, even posted about it on social media. Some people believed her, others didn't, but it was out there now. I wasn't surprised she'd lie. She always cared what people thought, probably why she begged me to come back, so she wouldn't look like the bad guy. Now she was spinning it to save face. I didn't care enough to set the record straight. Anyone who knew me well wouldn't buy it, and the rest didn't matter. I wasn't going back to argue or fight her on it. My life was here now, and I didn't need to waste energy on her drama. My friend offered to call her out, but I told him to let it go. It wasn't worth it. Things stayed quiet after that. I kept working, kept to myself. Her story didn't follow me to the new city. No one here knew her or cared. I liked that. My days were simple, and I didn't have to deal with her mess anymore. She could say whatever she wanted, it didn't touch me here. Life went on in the new city, and I started to feel settled in a way I hadn't before. Work picked up. I got a small raise after handling a big shipment issue, and I used the extra cash to buy a decent chair for my apartment. It wasn't much, but it felt good to have something new that was just mine. I even started talking to a couple guys at work more, not close friends or anything, but enough to grab a beer with them once in a while. I didn't think about her as much. The whole thing, finding out she cheated, leaving, her showing up, started feeling like it happened to someone else. I was good with that distance. Then, about a month after that friend told me about her lies, I got an email from her. She must have dug up my new work address somehow, because I'd never given it to her. It was long, 3 pages if I'd printed it. She said she was sorry for lying to people, that she'd been in a bad place, and didn't know how to handle losing me. She admitted the affair again, said it was the biggest mistake of her life, and asked if we could at least talk one more time. She wrote that she'd gotten a full-time job now, was paying the bills herself, and wanted me to know she was better now. She ended it by saying she'd always love me, even if I never answered. I read it once, then deleted it. Didn't reply, didn't save it. I didn't see the point. She'd had her chance to talk when she showed up at my place, and I'd heard enough then. Her being sorry didn't change what she did, and her getting her life together didn't mean I had to let her back into mine. I blocked the email address and moved on. That night, I went to the bar like usual, had my beer, and came home. It was just another day. She didn't get to pull me back into her world. I'd left it for a reason. It's been over a year and a half since I left, and I'm still in the new city. Life's not perfect, but it's mine. Work steady. I've been promoted to shift supervisor, which means more responsibility but better pay. I've got a small circle now, a couple guys from work I hang out with sometimes, and I've even gone on a few dates. Nothing serious yet, just testing the waters. I don't think about her much anymore. When I do, it's not anger or sadness, just a fact, like something I read in a book once. I found out from a friend she's still working that job she mentioned, still living in our old house. She stopped talking about me to people, far as I know. Guess she ran out of steam or realized no one cared anymore. Looking back, leaving quietly was the right call for me. I didn't need revenge or a big blowout, I just needed out. She cheated, I walked away, and that was enough. Her tracking me down, begging, lying to people, it didn't change the outcome. I've got no regrets about how I handled it. I built something new here, and it's not flashy, but it's solid. I don't know what I'd do if it happened again, but I'd probably leave the same way, quiet, no drama, just gone. What about you guys? If your partner cheated, would you bounce like I did, or would you stay and make them pay? Curious what you'd pick.